Hey folks, it's Teresa from Stringfield Ridge Farm. We are out in the yard today. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. The first really nice day we've had. Lee has mowed the yard and he has fire going though, because that's just Lee for you. But I think it's 63 degrees and we have been weed eating and mowing, and Lee is working on an arch for my herb garden that I'm going to put some Kajari melon on. I have decided to get in on a challenge by Gail's Southern Living. She has put out a video collaboration or challenge to show what unique things that you have planted in. And I have done plenty of that, believe me. So we have planted in all kinds of crazy things around here, especially for my herb garden. But now I have 6 raised beds to fill. So this year I might not be planting in as many crazy things as I have before, but I'm going to show you some of them that I have used and show you some I still got this year. So here we go. And anybody, this is an open challenge for anybody that has a YouTube channel and can video some of the unusual things that you plant your garden in, or herbs in, or flowers in, or whatever. So check out, I will, in the description below, I will leave Gail's channel and her video challenge, and you check that out, and then watch some of the other ones. She's got a playlist of all the different things. Might give you some ideas of what you can plant in. So so here we go. Let's look around. So here's one that's not so unusual, I don't guess, because it's actually bought. One of my daughters bought me this for Mother's Day last year, and I planted petunias in it. And there you go. And this year I'm going to put some coleus in it. And I haven't planted them in there yet, but that's what I'm going to do. Now right beside that, I have an old bucket that the bottom rusted out of, and I plant in stuff like that all the time. That's got a moss in it. Now of course you could do anything in there. You could plant an herb in there or a flower in there. Beside that is some mint, but that's just in a regular pot. But this just shows you some different things you can plant in, and I'll show some others. Any old thing like that that's old rusted bottom you could use. Even cracked pots or pots that have a hole in it. Don't throw those away. You can still plant in those, especially stuff that are prolific like mosses and mints. On the same line, here is another bucket that the bottom got rusted out of over time. I actually found this on the side of the road, and it's a big old bucket, and I have put cedium in that, and that is a some people call it house leek. It's just a type of succulent, and it is really doing great in there. Now there is a couple of those mosses down in there I need to get out, because this cedium is really taking that over. I think that is an autumn cedium, I believe it's called. We always called it house leek. So there you go. Now here's an example of another broken pot. This is an old busted broken planter I had, and I stuck a piece of mint in there one time, and it's doing great in there. Now that thing is about dry rotted and needs to be thrown out, but for the time being it is still holding that mint. There's another bucket. This was supposed to be like an ice bucket that you put ice and then drinks in from the dollar store. And I had gotten it and used it once or twice, and then it got a hole in the bottom. So we put some more holes in the bottom and planted some of my lemon balm in there. Okay, here is one of those like totes that they sell at the dollar store or Walmart that you can, a lot of people use them for kids' toys, and that's what this was once upon a time used for. It got old and cracked, and I brought it out here, and I had planted tomatoes in it at one time, a tomato plant, and then I planted an herb in it last year. But something dug my herb up, so I don't think it's going to come back. I will probably do another tomato plant in that this year. But there are bigger ones than that too. That's just a smaller old one that got kind of cracked across the side. And I just filled it up with dirt and have used it for 2 years like that. You could always use old rusted out wheelbarrows or wagons. Now those are not, we still use those. They're not rusted out, and until they just rust completely out, I'll probably keep using them for hauling. But if one of them rusted out, I would definitely use that for planting some flowers or herbs in there. Now in my herb garden, a couple of years ago, I had what I called a potager garden, and didn't have the raised beds in here. We just planted in ground, and I also had a whole lot of different pots and planters in here that had all kinds of unusual things. I had a whole lot of old farm equipment. I liked the old rusty farm equipment, and I had a bunch of that in here that Lee just absolutely hated because he had to weed eat around it all. Well, this is the only one that had stayed, is this old watering trough back here, and that's got my mint in it. That's just got peppermint in it, and it is actually doing wonderful in there, which peppermint usually does. But Lee cut it in half for me. It had, the bottom was all rusted out. It had some holes in it, and Lee cut it in half, and we put plastic on the bottom and then planted my mint in there so that it would stay in one location, because mint tends to run everywhere. But now I've got my raised beds in here, so I don't have to do all that, and I still do it in some spots, but we took all the old farm equipment and stuff out and made 6 raised beds. And Lee is currently right now working on me a couple of arches to put climbing stuff on. I have stuck a couple of pots inside. There's some of my stuff that's coming up. And I had a pot going with some stuff in it. I just stuck it in my raised bed, and there's another one. So those were going in the greenhouse, and I hadn't planted them in ground yet, so I just stuck them in my raised bed. Now last year, year before last, when I had the old rusted farm equipment in my herb garden, I had some of these cinder blocks. And I had four lined up, and I planted herbs in each hole, and then a bigger herb or a tomato plant or something in the middle. I don't have that anymore because, like I said, now I've got this, so we don't have as much crazy stuff planted in crazy things. But just trying to give some ideas out there, and we'll go see. I'm gonna go look around and see if there's anything else I've planted in that would be unusual. But that just gives you some ideas. Check out all the other videos in this challenge, because you will get all kinds of awesome ideas of what you can plant in. Here's a good example of an old bucket, or actually farm equipment that I had planted in at one time. This was an old bucket I don't know exactly what you call it, but it has the handle that fits over a board or fence or something, and it's got a hole in the bottom, cracked across the bottom. But on this side, somebody will know what this was. I want to say they fed calves. This side had a nipple, like a big old nipple. This side had a big old rubber nipple that stuck out, like you would feed calves from a bottle, only they had this bucket and that had a nipple on it. And then it had this on the back of it where you would maybe hang it on the fence or something and maybe pour milk in it. And then it had a nipple here. So I assume that is an old calf feeder. And it got split across the bottom. So I had planted some herbs in that at one time, and I may do so again. So that might be the most unusual thing that I have planted in, right there. So there you go. You can find all kinds of crazy things to plant something in. So there you go. That's the craziest things I have planted in. Not so much anymore as I did a couple of years ago when I started that potager garden with the old farm equipment. That was something to see. Like I said, Lee hated it because he had to help me weed eat around it and keep the weeds out of it, and it was an impossible task. But it was nice if you like that kind of thing, and I do. So if I can find a video showing that garden from a couple of years ago, I will post that in the description below, and at the end of this video I will tag that. So hopefully I have a video from then. I know I do, I just don't know how much of it I showed in the video. So I'll find one and post it, and you can see some of that old stuff I was talking about that I used. And so there you go. Join this challenge if you can, and if not, just tell us in the comments below some of the crazy things you've planted in, and just get out there and do it. The whole point is, I think, is you can plant anywhere you're at in whatever you have. So find something that you can put a tomato plant in, some lettuce in, at least make you a salad garden with some lettuce, tomato, cucumber, radishes, and you can do that on a patio or a porch, wherever you're at. So let us know, and be sure and watch the playlist on this collaboration, and thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and watch us on Friday nights at 7 Central.